So, there's this new proposal from India's central bank that could seriously shake up the global financial system. We're talking about a direct challenge to the US dollar's long reign at the top. Let's break down what's really going on.
Okay, so here's the billion-dollar question, or maybe the trillion-dollar question. Is the US dollar's time at the top coming to an end? Every time the BRICS nations do something, people ask this. But this new idea is forcing us to ask it again, because this isn't just about a new coin, it's about a whole new way of moving money around the globe, completely outside the old system.
So, what kicked all of this off? Well, back in January 2024, the Reserve Bank of India threw out this really radical idea. They suggested that the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and all the new members, should link up their official digital currencies. The big idea is to create a kind of digital highway for trade that just goes around the traditional gatekeepers.
All right, to really get why this is such a game changer, you've got to understand how money moves around the world right now. For decades, pretty much everything has revolved around two things: the US dollar and a critical piece of financial plumbing called SWIFT.
First thing you need to know about SWIFT, it isn't actually a bank. It doesn't hold or transfer a single cent. Think of it more like a super secure text messaging service for the entire financial world. It sends the instructions for a payment, but the money itself? Oh, that takes a much more complicated trip. And this is where things get messy. A payment from, say, India to Brazil doesn't just go straight there. No way. The SWIFT message usually gets routed through what's called a correspondent bank in the US. There, the payment gets converted into US dollars, and then it gets sent on to its final destination. It's a zigzag journey that's slow, it's expensive, and it's totally dependent on the US dollar.
And that right there, that dependence is the whole point. Because the system leans so heavily on US banks and the US dollar, it gives Washington this incredible power. It can use the financial network to enforce sanctions, basically unplugging countries like Russia or Iran from the global economy. It's a massive strategic weapon, and it's exactly why the BRICS nations are so motivated to build something different.
So, what's the plan? What does this new digital highway actually look like? Well, it's really built on two key ideas: a new payment system called BRICS Pay, and a whole new kind of money called the Central Bank Digital Currency, or CBDC. Let's look at how they're supposed to work together. The difference is pretty stark. Where SWIFT is this one central hub that everything has to pass through, BRICS Pay is designed to be a totally decentralized network. Instead of being forced to use the US dollar, it would let countries trade directly using their own currencies. The dream is a system that's faster, cheaper, and, most importantly, free from outside political influence.
Okay, so that's the system. But what about the actual money? This is where CBDCs come in. Now, a CBDC is not the same as the money in your bank app. That money is technically a liability of your commercial bank. A CBDC is different. It's a direct claim on the central bank itself. It's the digital version of holding a crisp bill in your hand, backed directly by the government.
This money flower visual really helps break it down. You see cash, right? That's physical and it's issued by the central bank. Then you have your bank deposits. That's the digital money we're all used to. A retail CBDC, right there in the middle, aims to be the best of both worlds. It's digital, it's widely available, and it's a direct liability of the central bank, just like cash.
And hey, this isn't just some far-off theory. This is happening right now. Key BRICS members are already building these things out. India is piloting its e-rupee with millions of users, and China's digital yuan is even further along. We're talking hundreds of millions of users, and it's already been used to buy oil internationally. The tech is real, and it's being rolled out.
So you gotta ask, why now? What's the big push all of a sudden? Well, it's a potent mix of economics and geopolitics. It's about a group of powerful nations wanting to rewrite the rules of global finance to reflect their own growing importance.
First, just think about the sheer scale we're talking about here. The expanded BRICS bloc, it now represents 45% of the world's entire population. That's almost half the people on the planet.
And all those people, they translate into serious economic muscle. Together, we're talking about roughly 35% of the world's entire GDP. These aren't just emerging economies anymore. They are global powerhouses.
Brazil's President Lula da Silva really hit the nail on the head when he said this: "It's not just about making trade easier, it's about building a financial system for a world with many centers of power, not just one."
But you can bet this whole idea is seen very, very differently in the US. Former President Trump flat out called the alliance anti-American.
It really frames this whole effort as a direct threat to American interests and the dollar's top spot. You could feel the geopolitical tension right there.
Okay, so the ambition is massive, the vision is huge, but what about the reality on the ground? Let's be real, building a rival to the dollar is, well, it's incredibly difficult. There are some enormous roadblocks in the way.
And the hurdles are just enormous, on every level. You've got the technical puzzle. How in the world do you get all these different national systems to work together seamlessly and securely? Then there's the politics. Who's in charge? Who sets the rules? And the economics. What do you do when one country sells way more than it buys? And maybe the biggest one, adoption. None of these digital currencies are even fully live yet. They're all still just being tested.
And look, that economic problem, it's not just a what if. We've already seen it happen in real life. After the invasion of Ukraine, Russia and India tried to trade using their own currencies. But Russia sells a ton of stuff to India and buys very little back. The result? Moscow was stuck with billions and billions of Indian rupees that it couldn't really spend. It's a perfect, real-world example of the problem.
All right, so let's zoom out. When you put all the pieces together, the ambition, the tech, the roadblocks, what's the big takeaway here? What does this all really mean?
First off, let's be clear about one thing. A fully built, super smooth alternative to the dollar system, that is not happening tomorrow or next year. Most experts think a project this big will take decades to get right, if it's even possible at all.
But, and this is the real kicker, even if it's a long, winding road, the first steps have absolutely been taken. This whole proposal is a massive signal. It proves that some of the world's biggest economies are actively building the plumbing for a future where the dollar isn't the only game in town.
And that leaves us with the big question for the future of money. You know, for the past 80 years or so, global finance has pretty much been a one-way street, paved with US dollars. The real question is, are we watching them build brand new highways right alongside it? And if they do, where are they all going to lead? That's what the entire world will be watching.